Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cheryl Technology Channel. My name is Chris, and I'm your host today. And in this one, yes, you see it on the screen. This is going to be a little bit of a different series. A friend of mine, by the way, if you're new to the channel, thank you for joining me, and welcome to my channel where I do all things technology. I do a lot of different things here, and we are going to start doing a series on Cyber Stronghold based off of my buddy's book, Shields Up. So this whole entire series is based off of his work. I'm going to do it my own way because I always do, but that's what it's about. It's based in that book, and that book will be the backbone of my entire series. I will use it to build this entire series because I wanted to create something that is really easy for people to understand. And I helped a lady yesterday. I went over her house, helped her with a printer, but then ended up helping with OneDrive and a bunch of other stuff too. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. So that's why I started this series. So this is a program called Smart Draw you're looking at right here online. And I'm representing a house, right? So this is in this video series, that's what we're going to look at is this book. And I'm going to put my own spin on it. It's going to be my own way. I'm not going to plagiarize him because I don't do that. That's not what I do here. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do, you need to know is what a network is, right? To understand what a network is, you need to know the purpose of a network and what it does. You need to know what its purpose is first. The purpose of a network is to have not only intercommunication between devices, but having those devices go out across the internet to connect with other devices and to access online resources. That's what a network does. Okay, let's put it this way. So you go to your house, you have a any kind of device, a 3D printer, whatever it may be, or anything, be an Apple TV. Let's take an Apple TV as an example because I like Apple TVs. So an Apple TV accesses online content via a home network. You have the internal side inside your house that will allow devices to communicate internally to each other. Not only internally to each other, to access the online resources, you have to have what's called a private and a public side. So the private side is the side where all of your internal devices live. Like if you look at my house, I have Wi-Fi bulbs right here, right there. There's one there too. I have these bulbs that are Wi-Fi bulbs, so they'll communicate over Wi-Fi. And because of that, they need access to external resources. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail in this video about this. I will at a later video though, I promise. Home Assistant is coming. So you may have cell phones, TVs, tablets, laptops, whatever you have. It needs access to online resources for not only storage backup or whatever the case may be. Media content, Apple Music, YouTube Music. I know some of y'all are cursing me under your breath right now, but don't worry. YouTube Music is pretty good too. And it comes free with my YouTube Premium subscription. So there. I don't have to pay extra for it. That's what I'm talking about. So the basis of a network is to interconnect things and to connect it to resources outside of your local network, and by resources, I mean OneDrive, music, streaming services, stuff of that nature. Now that you have the above information, now you know what a network is there for. It is there to interconnect, to connect devices to a home network, to be able to access online resources. Basically, that's what a network does. You need to understand the mechanisms that makes it do what it does so that you can better understand how to secure your own network. And that's what this whole series is about. My buddy Damien, he created this over at IT Unicorn. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. The first point of this is there's public versus private. A private network is your home network. So you think of this house right here. You can see the four walls. Well, they're a little crooked and there's a hole right here, but ignore the hole that's in the wall right there. That's not supposed to be there. Ignore that hole right there. And so what happens is contained within this wall structure is what's called a broadcast domain. Now, I did a video on this in my house upstairs. I did a video with my cell phone on this, how it worked, what it does, how it's actually run. So that you can reference that video. I'll leave a link to that one in the description too. And so what a network does is within the four walls of this house, you want to contain all your traffic for your devices within the confines of this wall structure. And within this wall structure, you have devices communicating with each other. So especially when it comes to Wi-Fi. I've got an access point right there. Well, right here is where our structure is, right? So we have a structure for this, and my access point, let's say it's sitting right here in the center of the room. Well, what's going to happen is it's going to broadcast the name of the network. And we're going to go into a lot more detail on Wi-Fi in a later video. But basically, that's what happens. Because, now, hear me when I say this, a Wi-Fi network is not contained to these walls. And this is why Wi-Fi, and I'm going to go into Wi-Fi in the next segment, but Wi-Fi it broadcasts to the outside world. We're going to get into that in a minute, but basically, you need to know there's a public and a private side. The private is within the walls. The public is outside of the walls. The door is your gateway. The door is the gateway. So think of this way. A router, in my buddy book, he talks about gateways and stuff. He talks about a router. He talks about it being and I quote, he talks about it being a network gatekeeper. And that's exactly the best way to describe it. It makes sure that nobody gets in that shouldn't be in, but it lets all the traffic out. Now, there's certain traffic that you can block going out, such as VPNs, which sometimes you want to do that because if your kids can bypass your security, they can get outside of the network and go wherever they want. But there's ways to block it. I may do a video on it later, but it depends on the router you have too. So the router is the gateway or the gatekeeper between the public and private world. Now, remember that, because that is the most important piece of all of this. You want your stuff in here to stay private, so you want to have everything stay private inside of the private zone. We're going to call this a private zone or a broadcast domain because it's technically called a broadcast domain. Think of your home network as a cyber stronghold, where anything within the stronghold is protected by the gatekeeper or the gateway. This door, whatever, you can close this door and you can let whatever you want in, or you can block everything, which is the recommended method. Now, we're going to get into that way later because that's a lot more complicated. So the next thing I want to talk about, yes, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is one of the most convenient, one of the most interesting things ever created by man. It uses a radio signal. So think of it this way. a Wi-Fi network, specifically an access point. I have one right up there. You can't see it, but it's right there. And it is I just have it mounted to my ceiling. I have two of them in my house, one upstairs, one downstairs, to cover everything, to make sure we have coverage all over the house. And it's for any devices that I may have that run off of Wi-Fi. It'll help with those too, with the coverage. So let's think about Wi-Fi in these terms. If you were to take a rock, a pebble, and you dropped it in the ocean or dropped it in a puddle or a pond, what is going to happen? Yeah, you know what's going to happen. It's going to radiate when it hits the water. The waves are going to radiate out. It's going to do like this. It's going to ripple out. Wi-Fi is almost the exact same thing, except in the air. So think of a radio. It broadcasts its name out to everybody. That's the problem with Wi-Fi. That's its greatest asset and its greatest weakness, is that it broadcasts to everybody. Think about that. When it broadcasts to everybody, it is essentially everybody can see your network. Now, there are ways to hide your SSID, which we may go over soon, because that's an important aspect of things. Hiding it would be a good way. That way nobody sees it. But it's kind of up to you. Now, Wi-Fi is amazing, but ensuring that it is properly secured by either WPA2 or WPA3, I would recommend WPA3, and making sure it's secured that way and with a proper password. Now, the importance of this password, I cannot say this enough. The importance of this Wi-Fi password, it has got to be complicated. It has to be long and it has to be secure. You cannot run a network with an insecure password. You have to make sure it's okay to have Wi-Fi, but you need to ensure that it's secure. That's what you need to do. I personally would not even recommend using a guest network at all, because you don't want anybody. I don't trust any company. I don't trust Ubiquity. That's who makes my access point. I don't trust them. And zero trust is the key to everything. Not trusting anybody will make your network a lot more secure. The third point of all of this is devices. Every one of your devices on a home network will need a connection to outside resources at some point for update, for accessing online content, anything like that. Now, and it depends on what you're using it for. YouTube, I mean, you could TV, whatever it may be. And these days, that's used a lot more. Video streaming, music access, IoT devices, even. Those are some of the most insecure, but we're going to go over those in a later video. No matter what the reason, a home network is an essential resource for anyone wanting to access resources outside of their private network space or your house, however you want to say it. Now, in conclusion, these days, home networks are very heavily used. They are used so much more heavy than when I was a kid. We didn't have a network. I didn't know what a network was. I didn't know such a thing existed. But then a buddy of mine, Toby Gertz, thank you, Toby, he showed me the light, bro. And I've been hooked ever since. So almost everybody has a connection to an ISP. For me, it's Allo. Some people have, what's that company? Comcast, Xfinity. I mean, there's a bunch of them. They provide you access to a public internet space, and that's what they do. And almost everybody has that these days. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. The issue is that some people don't know how to set things up correctly. I believe, this is my opinion, when a internet service provider comes and installs a router inside your house, they should change the default password immediately to that router and give it to the home user. Now, does that mean the home user should access it? That's what this whole series is about. That's literally what it's about. So I'm going to walk you through all these things. It's very simple. It's not complicated. As long as you know the basic stuff of how to do it properly, everything will be fine. But if you don't know how to do it, it can result in a loss of data or personal information. So that's why it's important. So join me in this series on learning how to do things the correct way in a home network and be security minded for your own personal cyber stronghold. Thank you everyone for watching. This has been part 1 of my Cyber Stronghold series based on my friend Shields Up, or Damien. It's Damien is his name. This is his book, Shields Up. Thank you, Damien, for letting me do this video. I reached out to him several times before I did it to make sure it was okay with him, and he agreed. So he said, dude, go ahead and do it, bro. I said, okay. So that's what this video is about. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray that you would reach out to me in the comments. I will be glad to pray for you if that's what you need. And until my next video, everybody, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, everyone, peace.